A $2 piece of walnut husk makes any whitetail miss you. It completely destroys your human scent before any deer detects it. Cherokee hunters used this method for over 400 years. Frontier woodsmen carried it in small leather scent pouches. Modern hunters spend $200 a season on sprays that wash off after 2 hours of cold autumn rainfall, sprays that every smart whitetail learns to recognize quickly. This forgotten green husk does what every modern bottle cannot. And the scent control industry buried this secret on purpose. This is the buried story of the black walnut hull cover scent. Welcome to Hidden Hunter Wyatt, where buried hunting truth lives. If old field knowledge matters to you, subscribe and ring the bell. This is where modern hunting culture meets what it tried to bury. In 1798, a Cherokee guide made hunting notes. He described pouches of dried walnut husk worn against the skin. He claimed white-tailed deer would walk past hunters who carried them. By 1830, John Audubon recorded the same exact practice. Audubon watched Iroquois hunters move silently through bedded herds. He wrote that not a single doe lifted its head as they passed. He noted the green husk smell that clung to their hunting shirts. By the 1860s, this knowledge spread through the South. Appalachian hunters called it walnut bag and carried it everywhere. Frontier journals from Tennessee describe the same exact practice. Civil War veterans returning home brought it into Missouri farms. Old-timers in Kentucky still talk about the walnut bag method. This worked because each black walnut hull contains pure juglone. Juglone is a powerful natural compound that masks human scent. It binds to skin oils and locks down your personal odor signature. Native hunters knew this 400 years before the science did. Then in 1972, everything quietly began to change. But before I show you why this method disappeared, listen close. This video is just the surface of what the gear world tried to bury. I gathered every forbidden hunting method modern culture erased, all inside the complete Forbidden Hunters Vault collection online. Ghost scent protocols that make deer ignore your full presence. Silent stalking mechanics taught by hunters who left no tracks. Forgotten whitetail funnel logic that modern guides never use. Hidden camp setups that erase your footprint from the woods. Sub-zero heat methods that make winter gear look ridiculous now. 8 powerful modules of buried field knowledge in one place. The complete vault link sits at the top of the description below. But stay right here because the next part rewrites everything. Because what comes next is the part the gear industry hates most. The numbers behind this old method are harder to ignore than most. Whitetails own about 297 million scent receptors. Humans have only about 5 million receptors in direct comparison. That makes the average deer nose nearly 60 times more sensitive. A bedded buck can detect human scent from over a quarter-mile out. On a still cold morning, that distance can stretch even further. Now consider what most hunting sprays actually offer in the field. A bottle of cover scent costs between $10 and $20 each. It evaporates fully within 90 minutes of cold morning exposure. It washes off completely after 1 hour of moderate cold rainfall, and it carries chemical signatures every mature buck recognizes. Now compare that to the dried walnut husk our grandfathers used. $2 worth of green husks lasts the entire deer season. The juglone bonds to skin oils for 6 to 8 hours straight. Cold rain barely affects the bond once it sets onto the human body. And no whitetail has learned to recognize this natural earth scent, because it smells exactly like the autumn forest floor itself does. If you made it this deep into the video, you already understand. You already know more about real scent control than most hunters. Hit subscribe and share this with one man who still values truth. The complete vault sits in the description for every deeper detail. Now stay locked in because the next part is the heaviest yet. So why did this knowledge vanish from every hunting magazine ever? Why did your father never hear about the walnut hull method spoken? The scent control industry pulls in over $400 million yearly. Each hunter spends $50 to $100 per season on sprays. Multiply that across millions of American deer hunters every fall. That dependency model collapses if a free tree husk works better. You cannot patent a wild walnut tree growing in the backwoods. You cannot lock away knowledge that grows beside every county road. You cannot create yearly upgrades for what nature renews itself. So the magazine stopped covering it after 1972. Trade publications labeled it folk myth by the year 1980. The new chemical sprays got page after page of paid ad coverage, and the walnut hull slowly faded from every modern hunting article. It got mocked, ignored, and quietly buried under brand campaigns. Generations of hunters never even heard the name Juglone spoken. But the truth never died because the trees never stopped growing. Black walnut still drops its green husks across the eastern states, from Pennsylvania to Missouri, from Tennessee to upstate New York, from Ohio to West Virginia. The husks fall every single autumn, free, abundant, and waiting for any hunter who knows the method. Which brings us to the part that matters most for your next hunt. Because knowing the science means nothing if you cannot use it. And using it correctly is much simpler than the magazines claimed. What I'm about to walk you through takes about 10 total minutes. Anyone with a knife and a mason jar can prepare a full season. But there are 3 small mistakes that ruin the entire method. 3 small mistakes that turned many hunters away from this craft. 3 details the old-timers never had to write down on paper, because they learned them from their fathers around the fire pit. And those 3 details are exactly what comes next in this video. Here is exactly how to prepare your own walnut hull cover scent. Step 1 happens between mid-September and late October each year. Walk any wood line where black walnut trees naturally grow tall. You will see green tennis ball-sized husks scattered on the ground. Pick up any husks that have just fallen and remain bright green. Avoid the dark blackened husks because the juglone has dropped low. 1 full grocery bag will give you a complete deer season supply. Step 2 requires gloves because juglone stains the human skin badly. Wear thick rubber kitchen gloves and bring a sharp pocket knife. Cut each husk into small pieces about the size of a quarter coin. Spread the cut pieces across an old metal cookie sheet evenly now. Place the sheet in a dry shed or covered porch for 3 full weeks. Never dry walnut husks indoors because the smell becomes overpowering. After 3 weeks, the pieces will be dark brown and crumble easily. Step 3 is storage inside a 1-quart sealed glass mason jar. Keep the jar in a cool, dry place far away from direct sunlight. Sealed properly, the dried husks stay potent for 2 full years. Step 4 happens about 30 minutes before you walk to your stand. Open the jar and pull out a small handful of dried husk pieces only. Put on the same rubber gloves you used during the cutting work. Crush the pieces between your gloved hands until they release oil. Rub the dark oil firmly onto your boots, pants, and outer jacket. Pay close attention to the cuffs, collar, and seat of the pants. These are the spots that release human scent most strongly outdoors. Then drop a few crushed pieces into your pockets for the long sit. Step 5 is the part most hunters get wrong on the very first try. Reapply at midday because juglone activity peaks in the first hours. Just crush a fresh handful and rub it into your gloves and cuffs. That second application carries you straight through evening hunt. Now compare that simple routine to what most modern hunters do today. They shower with scent killer soap that costs $11 a bottle. They wash clothes in scent-free detergent that costs $15. They store everything in expensive plastic ozone scent control bags. They spray themselves with cover scent every hour from dawn forward. They burn through $100 in scent products by November. And they still get busted by mature does at 30 yards on most sites. Meanwhile, the man with $2 of walnut husk sits invisible. I have to be honest with you about one limitation of this method. Walnut husk works incredibly well across most of the eastern states. In pure western mule deer country, it has not been tested as much yet. The whitetail studies were strongest across Appalachian mountains. Your local conditions will always shape how any cover scent performs. But for any hunter east of the Mississippi, this method is unmatched. And there is one bonus benefit nobody talks about with this method. Juglone also repels ticks and chiggers from your hunting clothes well. Native scouts noticed this fact 2 centuries before modern science. So you stay invisible to the deer and free of bites at the same time. That is 1 bottle of permethrin you no longer need to buy ever again. Old hunters carried walnut bags for layered reasons we forgot today. Modern hunters chase 1 feature at a time across many bottles. The frontier man solved many problems with 1 simple husk pouch. Now think about what this means for your next morning sit alone. $2 instead of $200 per hunting season total. A scent that bonds to skin instead of one that washes off in rain. An odor every whitetail accepts as part of the natural autumn floor. And a method passed down by hunters who actually fed their families. This is what the gear industry tried to bury under brand campaigns. This is what your grandfather might have used without anyone knowing. And this is what waited 400 years for a quiet comeback. Imagine your next morning walking quietly into the timberline dark. Imagine the doe 40 yards away that simply keeps feeding calm. Imagine the buck that walks past your stand without raising his head. That is what a truly invisible scent profile looks like in the field. That is what frontier hunters in 1830 took for granted. That is what we lost when we accepted the bottle as the only answer. And that is what comes back the moment you carry the walnut bag. This knowledge did not die when modern magazines stopped printing it. It waited inside the trees, old journals and quiet family stories. It waited for someone willing to bring it back into honest daylight. If this video changed how you see scent control, please share it now. Share it with the man who still values real woodsmanship over noise. Every share keeps one more buried hunting truth alive in the country. The complete Forbidden Hunters Vault link sits in the description. Inside that vault are the 7 other methods I have not shown today. Methods even older than the walnut hull, even harder to find today. Methods that change how a serious man sees the entire deer woods. Subscribe so the next vault drop reaches your feed before anyone else, because the next forbidden method I bring back is even heavier yet. And the man who carries it will hunt invisible for the rest of life. This knowledge did not die. It only waited for the right woodsman. And tonight that woodsman watching the screen is finally you alone. The vault opens again very soon with the next buried fieldcraft truth. Carry the walnut bag this season. Watch what the deer no longer do. And remember the men who taught us this long before any spray bottle. The woods reward the hunter who listens to older, quieter voices.